I'd walk all night to find you through the jungle in a daze. Where is my protector? Are you in this endless maze? I need a guide with every stride. I'd hang up your every word. Where are you now? Lost in a crowd, escaping from this crazy world. You told me to listen out for the beat of your drum getting louder and louder. The beat of my heart brings me closer to you. Hearing your steps, I run faster and faster. I'm coming up behind you. I listen for the beat of your drum. Beat of your drum.
Hi, you guys. This is Richard Sachs. I'm your host on Lost Arts Radio. This is another of our great Sunday shows with a guest that I asked to come right back if he would, and fortunately he was willing to. That's Mark Steele. And if you've been watching his shows up to now, you know that he was on recently, and we talked about the development between the agenda to spread 5G everywhere and the people who don't think that's a very good idea and are trying to have something different happen. And it was a great conversation. I recommend that you listen to that archive if you haven't heard it yet. But it left a lot of questions in my mind and apparently in others as well, because we were getting emails about technical questions that we didn't really have time for. So this time we're going to get into a little bit more explanation of some of the details we overlooked last time, and I hope it answers some of the questions that all of you may have, and we'll do our best in a short time here to cover as many as we can that are relevant. And I want to start out by just welcoming Mark, and just to let you know, he's got an interesting background that makes him able to talk about these things. And before we get into the subject matter, maybe just a brief recap, Mark, if it's okay with you, about how you know about this stuff and what got you involved in it to begin with.
Well, one of the things, what's really unique about me, I'm an inventor and I'm a patent writer. Obviously, I'm a product development. I've developed products from invention, conceptualized invention, and built them out and actually brought them to market. So it gives us a really good understanding of product development, international standards. You can't make anything unless it's past some type of either guideline or standard or other. I mean, I do motorsports helmets. You can't sell them anywhere in the world unless they're fully accredited. It would be illegal. You go to prison. But that's the same as anything. It's like making bullets. It's like making anything. And what makes me unique in relation to 5G, 5G is a weapon system. It is masquerading as a telecommunications system, but it's actually a weapon system. And how I know that, I've been involved in a number of weapons deployments and weapons projects. I've got a number of patents in head-up display systems, weapon sight systems, infrared signal systems, etc. I got involved, I was given a project a number of years ago. Somebody gave me a bit of wood. It was 22-inch diameter, and they said, we need to build a rig to fit that bit of wood onto. And I thought, what's that? And weapon systems developments are compartmentalized. It's so that nobody really knows what's going on. Now, as it happens, I then deployed this bit of hardware. It was a test rig. But I actually deployed it subsea, and it was a target acquiring piece of equipment for a laser guided torpedo. It tells you how long ago it was. It was a BAE Marconi project. But that's the way that weapon systems are built out. You have them compartmentalized so that only a small number of people get to know, and nobody really knows anything. So when I get the best ones, when I get technologists who are involved in the 5G rollout, and then you explain to them what its real purpose is, and we've basically laid that to bed. 5G's urban radar. It's direct from the battlefield. The offset signals, phased array. So, I understand about all those type of technologies because I've actually built and invented a number of products on the battlefield to mitigate that same weapon system.
So you were above the compartmentalization because you had to test things, is that right?
Not well, I had to invent them. What happened, I was involved very early on. I was a young engineer, had a materials background, and obviously it was in the 80s when things weren't looking very good from an economic perspective. And I went away and worked on a project for about 3 years. And that project took me, it was covered under official secrets act, so I can't really talk about it, but I understood some of the heavy duty RF systems and how potentially dangerous they could potentially be. And obviously that was quite a number of years ago. And since then, obviously equipment's become far more sophisticated. I mean, significantly sophisticated with digitization. And then you've got the capability of very small chipsets and the capability of equipment where it's become miniaturized. So the equipment that we had was very, very large. This sort of stuff, you could put it into a suitcase. It's the sort of stuff you can mount on the back of a truck. And, where the stuff I was working on really needed to be on an Arctic and wouldn't be much use to anybody. And we're talking, multi-millions of pounds for a piece of kit, whereas that bit of kit you could probably develop out, you could go to Tandy's and buy, in fact, I know you can. There was actually a test done, some US experts went to Tandy's, bought some equipment for $500, went back and actually made themselves an RF weapon, then went around the streets and shot a few people with it. It's pretty naughty, but it was to show to the US government how this equipment could be, if you knew how to do it, could be picked up off the shelf. This was quite a while ago, and I think that's a document. It's actually in the public domain. It's not. I'm not talking out of school here. It's not a secret. Where I was quite fortunate, obviously because I'm an inventor, I understood quite a number of the secret weapon systems. Some of the weapon systems that the Third Reich had developed. I've always had an interest in weapon systems, guns, all types of munitions, all types of weaponry. And obviously Hitler's secret weapons program, great of interest to me, because obviously from a scientific perspective, it is extremely interesting. The Bell, some of the other weaponry, Mammoth, which was the first phased array off-step signal where it was beam waved. That was the first that's the first documented. I don't believe for 1 minute it was the first historic weapon system. And I believe it goes back a lot further. In fact, I know it does. If you only have to look at the references of the Ark of the Covenant, where it was actually rolled out, these historical bits of information do make sense when you understand Hitler's interest in the occult, but also in symbology, in some of the. We've all watched that film, what is it, with Harrison Ford in, where,
I was just thinking of that, Raiders of the Lost Ark, yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, that's not untrue. I'm not saying the film's true, obviously it was just a fiction, but it's not an untrue narrative because the Nazis did have a great interest in some of the weaponry or the potential weapon. I have spoken to a British servant soldier who actually was in the Middle East and was involved in scavenging around the Middle East looking for bits of equipment like this. And we had the conversation. I just totally thought it was, cloud cuckoo land type stuff. However, because what I knew, I started asking him about some of the colours of the guides, the wave guides, and because obviously he was explaining because he didn't have a clue about this technology, by the way. He was just sort of explaining some of the things that he'd seen. And I started asking him about some of the colours and what the potential were. And when he started telling me about that, I realised all he was doing was validating what I knew to be a potential weapon system. And we're talking about, this was in the 50s when, people didn't even have TVs. You know, so this takes, so absolutely, I'm pretty sure there was a link there with some of the equipment that, and obviously we'll have the definite historic Hitler weapons program, the secret weapons program, that was taken under Operation Paperclip to California after the war. A lot of the scientists where they'd actually used the experimental frequencies, waveforms to sterilize, to cause diabetes in humans, and all those, 2.5 gigahertz frequency, if you expose a human to that, it's the same as the Wi-Fi you've got in your house. In animal studies, it causes diabetes. So we've got a diabetes epidemic. I'm not surprised. It's why Barry Trower doesn't have Wi-Fi in his house.
Yeah.
And I'm hardwired.
Yeah. That's one of the questions that I didn't want to forget is Barry's been on the show many times, and I wondered how your background and work relates to his, because many of the viewers have seen him on the show before. Well,
Barry was obviously in the Royal Navy. And one of the, when I first came across Barry'd written a report about Tetra. It's a police signal system. It was used in the US.
Yeah.
Police had it, UK police had it. And Barry'd written a report about that. I thought, he's brave, very brave. And I knew a little bit about it, and everything he was saying was absolutely bang on the money. I can verify everything Barry Trower said, by the way, is absolutely correct.
I had that feeling, yeah.
Well, a lot of people said he was it was all fakery,
they worry about the so-called credentials more than what the person is saying. So that if the credentials are great, even if the person's lying, that's acceptable. But if they don't have the credentials that they want, then they can tell the truth all day and nobody cares,
Well, the next time you build a weapons program out, try and ask them to get a certificate so you can hang on your wall to tell you that you built it.
Exactly, right.
It's absolutely, I laugh.
And it was the right amount of credits and everything.
Exactly. You've got a history for it. So, they give you a little certificate and go, he was involved in that. Well, pull the other.
And it also has to be confirmed in a peer-reviewed journal, of course.
Exactly. So that's it, so I could, Barry to me is an absolute hero. He's an absolute hero because, he was a man in the wilderness talking about things that a lot of people didn't really understand. I understood exactly what he was talking about, and shocking but true. And unfortunately, people like Barry, he wasn't given as much support, I suggest, by the scientific community. I've had the same problem myself. The scientific community, right, obviously, they don't want to go there, and I understand why. Because it's too outrageous. I spoke in Liverpool last week at a conference, and there was a TUC sort of union guy there, and he said, it's unbelievable. It's all conspiracy. And I said, well, unfortunately, you've just listened to the talk for about an hour. It's all science and technology. You can't prove everything. Right. I wouldn't say anything unless I can actually substantiate.
But he had a really important point, and that's that since the FBI, I think it was, that invented this term conspiracy theory in order to dissuade people from thinking that more than one person shot John Kennedy. And then they found out afterwards that this was very useful for anything that was getting too close to the truth. And so people, without thinking, they like just the buzzword conspiracy theory because they can write off whatever you're saying. But in reality, conspiracy is very common. It just means two people or more cooperating for the same goal. There's nothing unusual about it at all.
There's nothing unusual about conspiracies at all. And conspiracy, I always say, you can go to prison for being part of a conspiracy in the UK. So why would anybody think that it's an attribute to the word to somebody that's not being truthful? It's absolute garbage. But it shows the way that the mainstream media can control the mind.
Yeah.
And control silly people's minds. And I said to this guy, there was a bit of an argument in the room ensued where a number of people are going, don't be ridiculous, you've just heard about it. And I said, hang on a minute. I said, the guy's made a very, very valid point.
Yeah.
Somebody's tell you something. I says, I've been working in research and development I'm an inventor, patent writer. I've developed products in this field for a very, very long period of time. I says, no, I can't believe it. So I says, why would I expect you to come here for an hour while I'll show you a few slides and explain some science and some technicalities of some science around some technologies that I call killer tech? I said, and why would I expect you to believe it? I said, because I can't believe it. And I've been building these things for 30 years.
Right. It's just so
Anyway, well, Richard, it's unbelievable. Your government's trying to murder you, and I'm like, you've got to sort of nip yourself and say, am I dreaming this? Is it true?
Exactly. And what you described about the compartmentalization is equally important, because that means that only a very small number of people are controlling everything, and everyone else is just handing over their time for a paycheck, no matter and they don't have to know that it's evil if they don't want to, so they don't have to worry about conscience issues. And what it comes down to is, what is the motivation and the type of character and mentality of those few in control, because that's where the world's going.
Well, obviously, but it's a behind-the-scenes thing, isn't it? I mean, I've looked at this equipment, and to me, and that's why I don't care. I care, but I don't care about the potential consequence. And I think Barry, like I said, he's a hero. He was a man that, on his own stood up and made a difference. And obviously, I've listened to him a few times.
Yeah.
The information he gives out. I mean, that's what's so absolutely ridiculous about people who say, well, he hasn't got a certificate. Well, I can tell you how much for certificates. I was listening to a scientist the other day from some university. Obviously, he's got all the certificates that you need. Obviously keeps them nice and clean, keeps them polished on the wall.
Yeah.
And he made a statement. He said, there's not enough energy in the non-ionizing radiation part of the spectrum. Now, it's quite an interesting position to take, and you hear lots of scientists. I hear lots of half-baked, what I would call not real scientists. Oh, they're not scientists. These are fools. These are just indoctrinated, foolish people. And they say there's not enough energy in that part of the spectrum. Well, unfortunately for them and others, I always put the question, well, how does a laser cut stainless steel? Mm-hmm. Because you can pour as much energy in from an oxyacetylene torch into stainless steel, it won't cut it.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, there's enough energy in oxyacetylene torch, and it won't cut stainless steel. But you can cut it with light. You can actually cut it with a laser, with non-ionizing radiation.
Non-ionizing, right.
And that then totally dispels their position. Because
I think you brought up a point about science, which is that it's not being practiced much anymore. That what they call science now is memorizing acceptable material. And then, just they don't understand it, they just repeat it. And that's not the same as learning or science. I'm embarrassed for them. I'll say to people will say to me, oh, well, I've got a physics degree and, non-ionizing radiation. I'll say, well, what I would suggest you do is go and ask for your money back, because you're being duped. You're being fooled. Yeah.
Fool. And you're a fool. You're an indoctrinated fool. And you're being fooled. You want your money back. Because it's the most ridiculous position. And it is shocking the amount of people that actually come up with that. And it's also even more shocking for people to turn around and say, where's all these certificates? What's his background? Well, I'll say to people, Michael Faraday was without doubt one of the greatest scientists of all time. Michael Faraday, Faraday cage and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Faraday was one of the greatest scientists ever, without doubt. The reason why the establishment don't like him is because he was a bookbinder. No academic qualifications at all. However, the definition of a scientist is somebody who is very knowledgeable on a particular subject. And the reason that's in the Oxford English Dictionary, that is the reason that the name of scientist, somebody who's very knowledgeable, because unfortunately, if they were going to say it was down to the certificates that you you can buy. I think you can buy them in Pakistan. You can just ring somebody up and ask them for a few certificates and print you some and send them off to you. In fact, I think there's quite a few of them work in the NHS here as doctors.
Right.
And probably practice better than the idiots who are actually, the really qualified ones out the universities, unfortunately. I mean, I had one lunatic a couple of years ago where he was doing mastectomies. Women coming in and just taking their breasts off because he fancied it, because you're getting a bonus for it.
Right.
So, the whole thing with me and certificates are writing on a piece of paper. They have no bearing at all. They've got no bearing at all on someone's either intellect, their ability to see things, or other. In fact, normally when I get somebody that mentions that they're qualified, I've got these qualifications, I normally run for the door, all right? Because anybody who's even worth their ilk who has those qualifications, believe us, you wouldn't mention it. You'd be probably embarrassed to.
Right. So
the people that mention it to me, normally it's a weakness of character, and it's probably a weakness of their ability to understand the subject that they've actually, they've scraped through at some university. So I'm totally against that whole sort of analogy in relation to scientists. Scientists are not people. Scientists are people who can assess all of the relevant documentary evidence and published peer-reviewed evidence on a particular subject. We have thousands of them sitting in universities around the world. You've got a number of them at the ICNIRP who say that non-ionizing radiation is safe. So what are they?
Right.
Certificates.
Well, if they decided it wasn't safe, they wouldn't have a job anymore. But I think the scientists are the people that can question everything. And it's not an ego issue, and they don't care about being proven wrong at all. They just want to know what's true, right? And then if they notice patterns in what they observe, and they set up tests to check what the patterns mean, and then report on that, even if no journal will accept it, if it's basically sound, they could be a great scientist. And there are some people who keep their common sense intact, even through higher education. It's just rare, because it's built to take that away.
They get into a pattern, Richard, where they become conformists, and they don't like to talk out of school. I mean, there was a very interesting scientist who I was very friendly with, and he used to say things to me like, because I shoot from the hip. You've got to remember, I've got 30 years experience behind it, but I do shoot from the hip. And people go, where did that come from? And he said to me, it must be fantastic to be like you, because you just don't give a I'm just not interested. And I said, no, why would you want to be? You've got to be out there. If you're gonna make an omelette, you're gonna smash a few eggs. If you want to just sit on the fence and do nothing for the rest of your life, well, crack on. But I'm one for smashing eggs. And I mean, you've got to be, the projects I've been involved in the past, you smash eggs. So the Barry, like as I said, absolute hero for standing up at the time when there wasn't anybody. He was a lone person in the wilderness, and he did make quite a lot of inroads into getting the information out. And what's actually happened, what's transpiring is Barry was always correct. And he was always correct. Now what's happened, we're starting to see that epidemiological data. Adolescents, the largest cancer killer now in the US is brain cancer. In adolescents, we've got chronic mental health issues right across the world divide, and it's all microwave radiation. In fact, Barry says this is genocide, and I absolutely and totally agree with him. Anybody that says anything other, you're either misinformed or you're just a liar.
Well, as far as the mental illness that you're mentioning, I mean, in a way, that's what the weaponized version of the radiation was created to do, isn't it? Because he was saying that in World War II, or just before it, they had the ability to make somebody into an assassin, or to commit suicide, or to go crazy, or whatever they wanted. And this is, 70 years later. And what we had heard recently from a whistleblower in Seattle who worked for a company euphemistically called a private security company, what they were working on, and he couldn't stand it, so he went public and they destroyed him. And that was how to control millions of people at one time with one radiation source so that they would all believe and think and act however you wanted. And I think that those experiments are going on in cities everywhere right now. And it may be part of the explanation of why we have these mobs of crazy people just violently crashing things in the street, know that they're really against something, but they're not really sure what they're against or what it means. But they know they're against it, and they're really mad. And I think they're an experiment, at least in part, by these places that are working on this wide spectrum radiation for crowds. What do you think about that?
No, there's definitely validity in it. Obviously, some of the super weapons programs, I mean, they're in the, they're in the public domain where, this type of radiation's been used for, for mind control and thought processes, and has actually been used to subdue foreign combatants on the battle space. So, you only have to look at Iraq. How do you get, battle-hardened troops which have been fighting? They've been fighting in Iran for quite a number of years. Just put their guns down and run away. Well, I can tell you, microwave radiation weaponry is most certainly a contributing factor. But unfortunately, where we have, I think it's 20 US troops a day killing themselves for getting anywhere near that type of radiation, because what actually happened there, they've most certainly got brain injury. And this is one of the reasons why the drugs that are being given, anti-depression drugs, just don't work. These guys got brain injuries.
Well, I mean, they have the little drawbacks of causing suicide and homicide, but other than that, they're pretty good, right?
just a little bit.
Yeah, in fact, all the mass shooters of schools in the U.S., as far as I know, all of them have been on the psychiatric drugs.
Psychiatric drugs with a little bit microwave radiation mixed in, stuff. Yeah.
So, anyway, this was right up your alley as far as what you're interested in, weapon systems and things like that. And you at some point you started to recognize that what was being rolled out as a communication system was not exactly just for that.
Well, it wasn't exactly for that. It wasn't for that. When I started looking at 5G and all its technical parameters of weapon system, that's doesn't matter whether it's the the widening of the spectrum at the sub-gigahertz range or the widening of the spectrum in the 30 gigahertz in the millimeter waveform. It's all dangerous, but it's all part of a cacophony of different microwave radiation signals. So if I bombard you with one microwave radiation, let's say in the sub-gigahertz, which is part of 5G, that then penetrates right through the body, just goes through you like a knife through, and causes significant potential neurological disorders, damages certain organs in different ways. But then if I start firing a millimeter wave radiation at you at the same time from an antenna, so these elongated antennas have got a number of different signal systems attached to them. Each one's a problem, but actually as you add the 3 or 4 or 5 different systems together, they become extremely toxic, and they know they're extremely toxic. So, and it's not as if they don't understand the significance of mixing all those different signal systems, because that's what, as you see, when I found out about 5G, the opening up at the higher frequency waveforms, the lower frequency waveforms, I mean, 60 gigahertz, are they going to be real? I mean, that'll gas you. It'll change the molecular structures in air and gas you. If I change if I either excite the oxygen molecule or actually disassociate the oxygen molecule, what's going to happen? It's going to gas you, because you're going to produce O3, or I'm going to excite the oxygen molecule to such a point your hemoglobin won't be able to pick it up. The hemoglobin's going, whoa, hang on a minute, I'm on that. It's toxic, and you die. I gas you.
So it's very much the same as what they're doing with the medical drugs, because with those, each one alone is toxic. But if you put them together, they're not additive. They multiply each other.
Thanks.
And it sounds similar with the radiation sources, right?
Well, Richard, you only have to look at the any of these vaccines. The metal carriers. The metal carriers has got to be in it. There's a reason for that, and obviously metal in the body.
Yeah.
Microwave radiation. It all ties into it's like as if somebody's deliberately trying to kill us all.
No, that's all just coincidence. Everything that happens is by chance, of course. So, and it's also that the spraying that's going on. That's another, ridiculous conspiracy theory that you're not supposed to even look at. That's full of aluminum and other toxic metals as well, just in case you miss the other sources.
Well, over the horizon weapon systems, if I've got enough aluminium in it, it means I can fire an over the horizon weapon system and get quite a bit further without actually having to use a satellite.
It's like a pool shot, right? You're bouncing it off the reflective metal.
That's exactly what you do, yeah. Okay. And the more material I've got up there, the more the reflection, the more I can see, and the more I can then target particular areas.
So you mentioned that the 5G is a combination of different ranges, lots of gigahertz, like maybe up to 60 or so, and then also sub-gigahertz. So there's a couple of questions that come out of that we didn't get to last time. One is that, so let's say somebody gets a meter, to try to check around their community for what kind of radiation's going on. And they are picking up sub-gigahertz radiation, which is what most of the meters do, the tri-field meters and things. How do they know whether what they're picking up is a straight sub-gigahertz source, like 3G or something, or whether it's part of a 5G system and it's showing that that's present also?
Like, it's all part of 5G. All right. Let's get the technical parameters of 5G. 5G means densification. One of its technical parameters is densification. Now, that doesn't matter whether it's 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. Densification, if I put more, what's actually happened, you've moved the Gs, all right? So your G, let's put a date line on it. In 2011, they started rolling out 5G. So if I then come along and put a load of 2G, 3G telecare or some, medical care system on everybody's chimney pot to monitor Mrs. Miggins's, the little buttons you press when they fall over, it's 5G. Densification's 5G. The technical parameter of 5G is more. It's not what it is.
Densification means more intense radiation within a given spectrum, right?
Exactly. It doesn't matter what it's operating at. You see, the three parts of 5G, that's a weapon system. You've got the widening of the spectrum, top and bottom. All right? So you've got the higher frequencies, you've got the lower frequencies. All is lethal. I mean, what really gets me exercised, I hear these technologists talk about the millimeter waveforms as if it's some sort of killer weapon. I'll tell you what will kill you. Sub-gigahertz. Sub-gigahertz will kill you. Now, I'm not saying that the millimeter waveforms aren't dangerous, but they're just as dangerous in the lower waveforms as what they are on the higher. In fact, more so, because the sub-gig travels through the brickwork and concrete and you can't hide from it. So you can't put yourself in a little cage and hide yourself away from the sub-gig. It travels straight to it.
Okay, so you're redefining the terms compared to what most people are thinking, right? They're thinking that what we've got now is 1, 2, 3, and 4G, and 5G is just starting. You're saying it was all part of a comprehensive 5G system, and it's just elements of that system are being added. And so, if I understand you correctly, and then the element that they're about to add happens to include a high frequency range, which is millimeter wavelength, but it's all just elements of one system, which is what you call 5G. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. In the sub-gigahertz range, you see what I'm doing. I'm compressing the data, so it doesn't matter what spectrum I'm using. I'm sending more data packets down that part of the spectrum. Yeah.
More information on the carrier wave.
Exactly. So wherever the carrier wave is, as the 5Gs become more complex, and this is where it becomes more toxic. So let's say you had, like 64 quadruples modulation. So where you're actually using the the signal, the wave signal, to put the data in, yeah? So that it's like a corkscrew type thing, and you're putting the data in there. Well, all of a sudden, I've just increased that data packet by 20 times. I'm using the same spectrum, 20 times more data packet in there, significantly more toxic. That's 5G. So they're widening up this. So they're widening up the spectrum, both sides. So the higher frequency waveforms, the sub-gigahertz waveforms, and then in the spectrum, and then they're adding more data packets into that part of the spectrum.
Okay, so here's the question that brings up, and I don't mean to interrupt and be obnoxious. I'm just trying to make sure that you don't go past anybody. And what you've just explained is there maybe, if I understand you, there are two sources of danger and harm in this frequency. One is the main wave itself, which is defined at a certain frequency, basically.
Yes.
The other one, which I haven't heard anyone talk about, is the information that's embedded into that wave. And those are really two different concepts coming at you together. And one of the questions that comes up, if you took the data out and just emitted the frequency, what would be the difference in harm?
I would significantly reduce it on both sides. So where 5G, you add more data packets in both sides of the spectrum, so in the higher gig as well as the sub-gig. So when people say this is the same frequency as what we use for TVs, for the spectrum, tell them to do one. Because what happens, they're lying to you. They know it's significantly more toxic because the data packet rates, right, in that part of the spectrum, they're lying to you. And this is part of the issue we've got the mainstream narrative on this technology. It is a fabrication. Everything they tell you is a lie.
Well, they're reading off the teleprompters, right? Or writing in the newspaper what they're told to write. So the real question about that is, who's writing what goes into the teleprompters? Because that's all unified. Speaking of conspiracies.
Well, not talking about weapons deployments. That's what you do.
Yeah.
It's a weapons. When I looked at this and I saw the compartmentalization of it, it immediately rings an alarm bell. Because the best ones, when you talk to technologists who are involved in it, and they go, no, it can't be, it's this, it's that. And I go, hang on a minute, what about this? But what about that? I mean, for instance, let's give you an example. There's an image of a set of LED streetlights in Asia, all right? And as the drivers drive towards the lights, obviously they've got these radar scanners. So the radar's looking at the traffic's traveling at speed towards the lights. And as the traffic comes to the lights, they increase the amplitude, right? They can increase the pulse rate, so they put more light out, all right?
You're saying the light has a sensor that does that as you drive toward it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the LED chipsets can scan their environment.
Okay, so if they see a car or a moving body coming toward it, they change their emissions.
Exactly, they change the emissions, so they increase it. Now, the problem you've got with that, your body's used to, so you're traveling on a road and you've got a certain amount of light radiation that's hitting your body. Your body's already set its defenses up against it.
Right.
So your body's defense mechanism set up, it says, well, this isn't very nice, but at least I can manage it. And then all of a sudden, I change the modulation. So I change the parameter of the modulation, and that's what stresses your body, and that's what kills you. See, that it's like sunlight. Sunlight's really powerful, but it's immersive. The difference with these man-made frequencies, LED streetlight in particular, is lethal because it's a square wave, it's pulse modulated. And if I then change that frequency as you're traveling towards it, I've just added a whole raft of weaponry, because an LED streetlight's a weapon, by the way. I've just added a whole raft of weaponry to kill you. So I did this video where I'm traveling into this traffic's traveling down this road, and as you see the traffic traveling down the road, you see the lights flashing on, right? Yeah.
It's not just a loose wire.
It's not just a loose wire. So I say, well, look how dangerous. And I'm explaining the biological dangers and the threat to life from that. Now, the guys that are fitting it, they're being told this is so that when the traffic goes past the light, we only use enough light when the traffic gets there, so we're saving electricity. Because it's all part of this United Nations resilience.
You're saving the world, basically, right?
Saving the world, yeah, exactly. So we're reducing the energy footprint, absolutely fantastic. Don't forget that the radar scanners on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, uses 10 times more electricity than incandescent light, by the way.
Right, exactly. And when you throw them away, they're probably very toxic as well.
Oh, absolutely toxic. Well, you're not throwing them away. We'll all be dead by then.
Want to go again back to this packet versus wave idea.
Yes.
And I guess mostly the people that have heard what we've heard all this time about what it is, we would assume that if there's a superimposed energy packet in the wave, it's just the information that you need for the computer system that it's feeding or the telecommunication system that it's feeding so that your voice can travel. In other words, it's compressed version of the words that you spoke over that network or something. But what now, real science, as we said, questions everything, even if it's well accepted. And so my question on this is, what's in the packets?
Ones and zeros. They're ones and zeros.
Well, I know, but they mean something. I mean, what message is there?
Well, it could be a film. It can be anything. It can be a voice. It can be voice. It can be just any type of data, digitized data. So it can be a film, anything. Now, obviously, the more data I want to compress in that, the more ones and zeros I need in that quadrature amplitude modulation. I need to get more data in there, and what I need more ones and zeros.
So going back and forth between 1 and 0 is kind of pulsing in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and not only that, I can change the wave modulation, because obviously you've got saw waves, square waves, all those different waveforms can add another raft of data within that spectrum. So the more the compressed data, the more toxic it becomes, and that's why the 5G and the sub-gigahertz range, see, you'll hear them say, oh, well, we're using these original. No, they're not. It's a totally different thing. It's completely different. It's like, the difference between, a gallon of petrol and napalm.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's, and you hear this all the time from technologists in the field. Oh, well, we're only using this part of the spectrum that's been used before. We used to do it for TV. Analog TV used to use the same part of the spectrum. It's totally disingenuous what they're saying, and it further deception and fabrication.
Well, it's just that if that pulse that is, even if the packets are just defining communications or downloaded movies or whatever, they're still just as toxic by virtue of the fact that they're ones and zeros crunched into a small amount of radiation. And what I'm seeing is that constant emission type radiation is easier for the body to handle, whereas anything that's pulsed, the more it's pulsed, like smart meter pulses, the more dangerous and damaging it is, right? And so on a really tiny level, going from a 1 to a 0 in the packet is a type of pulse.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The more data I put into that waveform, the more toxic.
Right.
The more toxic that waveform becomes. So that's why 5G is more compressed data and those waveforms. So it's significantly more toxic to life. But you see, that's its purpose, its main purpose. It's a weapon system. It's not. It's only masquerading.
Right.
It's only masquerading as a telecommunication system. You only have to look at the overcapacity of the equipment to understand that's exactly what it is. They're not here to. I could design a load of equipment tomorrow that could fix the problem. You could bring. I was talking to a technologist the other day, and he said, Mark, he said, Wi-Fi in people's homes, you could actually have it so that your Wi-Fi only emitted on demand. So, you come in, you put your computer on, as soon as you start talking to it, it then sends a signal to the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi picks a signal, opens up the port and starts pouring the radiation, so you get the connection. Yeah.
Well, right, but why don't you just use fiber optic instead and forget it?
Well, I do. I just use. I'm hardwired. But let's see. The reason why the technologist was mentioning this, what he was saying is, there's no necessity to have the Wi-Fi on 24/7. And what happens? You get people who've got Wi-Fi in the house, Tom, and they're not using it, so it's spraying radiation into the home all the time. For no apparent reason, there's no benefit. In it's the same as a smart meter. As a smart meters could send a signal out. They could send a signal out once a day. Right. Now, when they first came out, that's what the industry was saying. No, it sends a signal out once a day, and everybody's, oh, yes. And then lots of people started getting sick. They started measuring it. They found out it was on all the time. It was pulsing every few seconds. It was sending like 50 signals a minute, or ridiculous. Totally unnecessary, but that then takes you back to what we're saying it is. It's here to make you bad. It's got the intent to harm. The equipment's being built to kill. It's the intent to harm.
And what about these power supplies that are being installed next to 5G small cell transmitters there? People have pointed out that they're much more power than is needed by the unit.
Massively so. Yeah, I mean, I can scan. Well, the small micro cells we have on the street lights, and they're building into street lights. We have the hardware. We've actually got the evidence now. 450 volt capacitors. We've got ones with 3,300 watt. Hardware on the weapons bit.
Right.
I mean, I can scan your house I could scan your house with 12 volts. And that would be a nice cheap board, so I could see into your home. As long as the frequency is correct, I can see into your house, so I can scan you, I can spy on you. So our spies aren't using 12 volts. What they're doing, they're using a 450 volt capacitor on the board. So you've got to ask yourself the question, what's all that capacity for? Well, I can tell you, it's for an EMP. You do not need... I mean, they're taking a 250, 240 source in the UK, or 240. These streetlights have got a 240 cable going into them. And then what they're doing, they're boosting it up to the weapons part to 450. What's all that about? Yeah. And we've actually got the hardware, we've got the physical hardware, and that hardware would be expensive. So if I was buying a 12 volt board to switch the lights on and off, as they say they are, they're just for switching them on and off. Or let's say they did want to spy and use a 12 volt scanner type system. I could scan your home, no problem at all with 12 volts. I could switch the lights on and off with 12 volts. So ask yourself the question, why have they built equipment, very expensive piece of equipment, and they use a 450 volt capacitor? There's only one purpose that has. It's here to kill.
Well, since you mentioned EMPs, which bring up the idea of more than two-dimensional terrestrial systems, I'm sure you're aware that Elon Musk's company and some other ones have already begun putting satellites in the air that are supposed to radiate what they're calling 5G down to the Earth, so that the Aborigines in some remote place can download all the movies that they want, and nobody will be, having to be deprived of this wonderful technology. So what's going to happen with the satellites, do you think?
The satellites. The issue they've got with satellites are problematic in as much as if the weather's not very good, but I mean, obviously they can control the weather with HARP. If the weather's not very good, then your satellites don't really work. It's the reason for the ground-based weaponry that they're building out. So all of those industry narratives are taken with a pinch of salt. I'm not saying he's not putting satellites up and they've got a purpose to try and kill everybody. I'm pretty sure that's what it's about. Yeah. But whether it works out like that's another thing. I mean, at the end of the day, what we've got to do, we've got to get them stopped. And there has been some really interesting information of late. I mean, this recent smartphone legal case in California, this class action case where all the smartphones are radiated significantly higher amounts of radiation than the FCC allow. That's very important. That's a very important case, because not only will the shareholders, if I was a shareholder in one of these telecoms phone manufacturers, I'd be running for the hills, because those shareholders are on the hook. These technologies are uninsurable. So consequently, the shareholders, it forced the shareholders don't get rid of those shares now, They could lose their shirt, their home, their pensions, everything.
Well, I mean, it's going to cost a lot of money to pay off the judge so they change their mind, right?
Well, I think if there's enough people get behind it, you know, one of the greatest things with justice systems around the world, the judicial system has to be seen to be done. Otherwise, what happens? You get chaos. You know, if there's it's a bit like the Johnson & Johnson talcum powder case. I mean, it has to be egregious, and obviously, you know, the judges are going to always go with the telecoms company's side. But if enough people get involved, it's like the case that we're doing. Let justice be done, though the heavens fall. And the reason I chose that name for the Crowd Justice Fund, that was actually a statement made by a judge in a case to repeal slavery. Now, you've got to remember, at the time, the whole British government, all the MPs, everybody was making a fortune on the back of slavery. Mm-hmm. And the judge was told, obviously he had the hard word, look, you cannot stop this. But what he said was, this was God's law. God's law finds it abhorrent, right? And therefore, see, the British judicial system is based on, like any judicial system around the world, it's based on God's law. There's a compact with God. It's the thing we don't like to talk about a lot. I mean, the Queen's got a signed contract with God when she sat on her coronation oath. She signs a contract with God.
Yeah, but she obviously doesn't think that she's going to get caught for anything, right?
They'll rot in hell. They will burn in hell. I'm telling you.
Except for that, yeah.
Well, there's always, you know, you've got to remember, this isn't the only life that we'll live.
Well, right, I'm aware of it, but the people that, you know, I think a lot of the people that are in charge in those top levels of control are serving a different power, and they really think that they're going to get away with this stuff, or they would not be doing it.
Do you notice? That's the bit I can't get. I mean, I think that they're in promised land, or they've been corrupted for whatever. I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. Because they you know, they're all going to suffer quite a bit.
Well, right, and if they believed that, they would not be doing it. So yes. they think that they're going to get a pass, or else they would change, or they do something good with their time. And you know, it's clear that right now, I agree with you in your most ridiculous statement that it's all to kill everybody. I think that's absolutely right, but it's not quick. It's sequential by the numbers, and they have to give certain notices, and they have to do it according to certain protocol, or else they don't get the spiritual benefit that they think they're going to get. And that's what buys us time. But I don't think they're likely to just say, well, rats, we were wrong. Okay, we'll change all the laws and everything. They really want to carry the sacrifice through. So I think people are going to have to wake up to another level beyond just the intellect and scientific truths and things like that, because we're operating on a small fraction of our native consciousness that they're trying to keep hidden from everybody.
Well, it's the whole point, Richard, for Save Us Now. The sun. The sun is the light. The light is the truth. It is the light. And that whole thing came to me in a, like, you know, just a bit of a dream, but you've got to think to yourself, what am I doing in Gateshead? Why Gateshead is a no place. I mean, believe us, nobody, you know, listen to this will know where Gateshead is.
Okay.
I'm going to point them to something. Gateshead, we have what's called the Angel of the North. Interesting. It's Moloch. It's the Angel of Death.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. It's the Angel of Death. It's an iron cross. Big iron cross.
So how does that fit into the Gateshead thing that you're involved in?
Well, Gateshead's the epicenter, the test bed for this technology. And for whatever inexplicable reason, God put me in Gateshead. And not only did he put us in Gateshead, he gave us the knowledge to understand what this was. Now, as chicken's teeth go, it's an old saying, I'm as rare as chicken's teeth.
Yeah. Yeah, most people just have no way of judging any of this stuff.
They wouldn't be able to. The complexities of the weapons program are such that it would be very, very rare unless you were the architect of it, it would be very rare to be able to work out what was actually going on. And the fact that I live here and we had, we had the first, I was alerted to this by a couple of ladies who were having terrible nosebleeds at night. And I started investigating. Obviously, I had the technical capability to check this out, and I started measuring the radiation in their bedrooms. And it was well over the Council Europe 1815 resolution. I mean, we're talking minimum numbers, and one lady was 1800 millivolts, and the maximum exposure is 200. That was one lady who was having terrible trouble. All her face had broken out, her skin was starting to break out, she was getting nosebleeds in a terrible state. And I wrote to the council and I said, if she dies, you lot will get done for murder, because that equipment's illegal. I actually had a part of the equipment by this time, and I knew it was a high gain, target acquiring piece of equipment. Most certainly it was illegal. And so much so they've actually ended up that equipment now in Gateshead, where they spend tens of millions of public sector taxpayers' money, they're now starting to remove it. And the reason they're removing it is because it is a blatant piece of weaponry. It's not. It has no other purpose than to target, acquire, and shoot a signal at something. All right. And they're starting to remove that as we speak. They're changing for something that doesn't look. It is still a weapon system, but it doesn't look anything near as.
Yeah, where I am, they're making it really attractive and making fake trees and stuff like that, so that everybody will think it's great. You're saying they're not removing it because they're really sorry and they want to do something nice. They're removing it because they want it to be better disguised.
Better disguised, yeah. It's less obvious. It's less obvious a weapon system.
Yeah.
And they're changing the part of the LED street lighting as well, because the LED street lights they installed were a Category 2 optical radiation emitter, and by law they have to warn you that you have to wear protective clothing and eyewear.
So they're really irritated by what you're bringing up, but they're responding to it by trying to be more subtle. And I'm assuming that you were not noticing in your house and other places increased radiation necessarily in the millimeter range. You were looking for sub-gigahertz, right?
I'm mainly interested in it. Well, as long as it's all radiation as of a date, right, depending on its densification. If I can measure radiation in this house, because I don't have any emitters in here, then it's 5G. It's got to be 5G. Where else would it come from? The larger mass. Say
that again. This is a really important point. I want people to get it.
If I've got no radiation emitters in my home, so if I can measure radiation in my home, right, it's 5G.
Well, I see everybody's thinking 5G is millimeter wave. So what do you mean by that? Well,
5G is not millimeter waves. In fact, I've never had sight of any millimeter wave measurements yet. In fact, I don't think there's the metering equipment to measure in the 30 gigahertz range up over. And I've never measured any of that yet. And that might just be, a figment of the telecommunications imagination. I'm not saying that they're not going to use it, because obviously they've got that spectrum to go at, but they've got enough range in the sub-gigahertz to get that 5G out, and that's what we're measuring, and that technically, that's what all of the telecoms companies have now admitted they're using. In the early doors, when I first came across this, was in 2016, and I started calling this 5G, and people are going, no, it can't be 5G, and I was going, no, it's 5G. It's battlefield, phased array, battlefield, because obviously another technical parameter for 5G is that antenna design. And that allows you to do beamwave and collimated signals. So I knew it was 5G because I actually had one of these antennas that showed that you could actually do beamforming, and as well as these collimated signals.
So the hardware is different to make 5G, is what you're saying?
The hardware, well, no, because like I said before, 5G is densification. It's one of its main technical parameters. Doesn't matter what it operates at.
So is there a certain point of densification where it then becomes 5G
Yes.
from 4G?
Yeah, if I can measure it in my home and I haven't got any, then that's obviously 5G.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying on the street, okay? If it was 4G before, is there a quantifiable, identifiable point where it passes a certain densification level and becomes 5G or not?
4G with densification. So let's say you had a telecommunications mast, new one, put up at the bottom of the street. It automatically becomes 5G just because they've added it.
Does it matter then if they add millimeter waves to it or not?
Well, it would do, but I'd be more concerned about the sub-gigahertz range, because, like as I said, in the millimeter range, we haven't measured them yet, and it's not something that you potentially are going to be able to measure, and it's something that the industry haven't stated. They've said it in the blurb, so they're basically saying, millimeter waves. I think what's going to happen, the industry are going to turn around and go, right, we've thought about this millimeter wave thing. We've decided it is potentially really dangerous, so we're not going to use it.
Okay, but they'll still leave the small cell emitters, right? And just add to the density of the existing 4G.
Yeah. Well, you've still got 5G. If they turn around and if they turn around tomorrow and say we're not introducing millimeter waves, you've still got 5G, because the 5G's in the sub-gig. The 5G blanket coverage, it's urban radar. It operates in the sub-gigahertz range.
Okay, but they can claim that it's not because there's no millimeter waves.
That's what they might try and do. We've got to make sure we counter that falsehood.
So if somebody has a meter, a regular meter doesn't pick up millimeter waves, right? It picks up sub-gigahertz range.
It picks up to about 5. I think you can get them about 8 gigahertz. Get them about 8. You can get some that'll pick it up, but one of the things with collimated signals, like it's small, tight, collimated signal, how do you pick it up? I've got a meter here, all right? So I've got a meter here, and I've got somebody firing a collimated signal at me.
Yeah.
Meters over here. Well,
you have to hold your meter exactly in the line of fire, in other words.
You'd have to see and also I got pulse of 1, second pulse. Are you going to pick that up?
I'm not sure what you're saying. What
I can do, I can fire one at you.
Yeah.
Right. Wait 2 seconds, and then fire another one at you.
Right.
Wait 2 seconds, fire another one at you. How do you pick that one up?
Well, I mean, if you've got the right kind of meter, it would show us a spike, right?
Well, first and foremost, you've got to be able to see where it's coming from. It's not like a laser. You can't see it. It operates in the non-visible spectrum. Right. So you need to know it's exact orienteering. That's why they say you can't measure these 5G signals. Because how do you do it? We're like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Because they're directional.
They're directional, yeah.
Okay. Wow. So a lot of the assumptions, the baseline understanding of what 5G is, you're saying that's all wrong, basically. Everybody's thinking 5G is defined by millimeter wave frequency.
It's deliberately wrong. I believe there's a total deception going on. And what's going to happen, they're going to turn around and go, oh, and by the way, we've decided we're not going to use the millimeter waves. And everybody will, they'll all say a nice sigh of relief.
Yeah, that would be brilliant, actually.
Because they're devious. And you see, I've always been involved in the devious manufacture.
Yeah, so you're aware of how it works. But you know what? One question it brings up as far as the psychology of the whole thing, these people that get into city and county bodies, governing bodies, they're not obviously in the upper levels of the elite planners of these systems, and yet they're more than happy to defend them and go along with them. Why do you think that is? How do they find these people and everyone votes for them, and then they end up going in there and working against everybody's interest? Conditioning.
It's a type of conditioning, indoctrination, like a brainwashing, as if the sort of thing, we can't believe this. It cannot be true. And if you were actually under their nose and showed them point for point, they still wouldn't believe it.
So if you got one counselor on the board of Gateshead or some other city or county or whatever who was actually clear and aware and started telling the truth, they would probably all attack him and try to get rid of him as a conspiracy theorist, mentally ill person that needs to be removed or something, right?
We've got knowledge. There was threats. There's been threats made to local councillors, intimidation, local councillors. We've got information like that. People being threatened to lose their positions in next elections, etc.
Yeah, so it's a very challenging situation.
Well, it's not really, Richard. I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to die. So, I mean, what's the decision? I mean, I always say things...
Well, no, it's not a hard decision what to do. It's just an interesting question of what the outcome eventually will be. And also in the U.S., you know, what we found out, what we're not being told, apparently the fiber optic system is almost completely installed, and they're forgetting to mention that because if they just extend a little bit at the ends, they could run it into people's houses. And I wonder if that's true in the UK as well.
I think it's very much the same in the UK. So they're running the fibre optic, and the fibre optic really is the answer. You take the fibre optic directly into home, you have people who want Wi-Fi systems, obviously you could get like a bit like alcohol, they'd have to make sure there was no children in the house, something along those lines if you still want Wi-Fi, but you could have Wi-Fi on demand. So where you actually have a signal where you send a signal to the box sends a signal out, for convenience.
Right.
They're not doing that. And not only are they not doing that, they're exposing their children to this, which is absolutely outrageous.
Right.
And
the fiber optic is faster anyway, and it's more reliable. It doesn't cut out.
Absolutely, it's secure. You can't intercept. I mean, any signal in air, I can intercept any signal in air. Whereas you can't intercept fibre optic signals. Well, you can break into the cable and do it, but makes it a little bit more difficult. Yeah. The reason for the fibre optic rollout is for the LED streetlight scanners, because obviously they need a lot of data packet because it's just a camera. Yeah, so the LED streetlights that you see popping up, without the diffusers on the end. They're basically scanners, so they're 3D map the environment in the higher frequency, so in the terahertz range, they're 3D map the environment, and then you've got the sub-gigahertz transmitters, which then interrogate the urban environment, so the buildings, so they actually take down all the walls. So you've got the lights in the street outside, they take down everything in the terahertz range, and anything that the terahertz range can't impregnate, the sub-gigahertz overlays over the top, so you get this mapping of everything in the environment.
Yeah. And total surveillance, which is what you're talking about, is always justified by citing security. And the problem is that might be great if you had total benevolent, wonderful people in charge. But since that hasn't happened in recent history for the last 15,000 years or so, it's not really a good trade. So you don't need technology for surveillance streetlights. You should just forget it and put regular lights up there, right?
So exactly. My thoughts entirely. These people cannot be trusted. If you look at the capacity of the equipment, is it's so damning. What I want to say to people, Richard, in relation to this, I'm not depressed about it at all. I think it's quite good because we've caught them. We've caught them in the biggest crime ever to be committed, and we are absolutely too early. And all we have to do, organise the right people. There's got to be some wealthy people out there who are going to support the fight back. People who are going to look at this and think, shit, I could die. Well, draw my battle lines. This is the choice. It's either go with the cabal and die, or fight for your life, and we might survive. That's the choice. That is absolutely the choice that you've got today.
Well, and I think you bring up a really important point. Massive amounts of money are extremely powerful tools for good or bad. And right now, most of it that we know of is supporting the destructive stuff. But that doesn't mean there couldn't be somebody out there or a certain number of people holding huge wealth that would really rather do something good with it. And there has to be a way that comes up to find those people, right?
Richard, I thought we would have bumped into some philanthropist by now who was trying to help to stop this. You know, you get people who live on Earth, you know, they build themselves heaven on Earth, got beautiful homes, beautiful lifestyles. These people are going to lose everything. They're going to lose their life, their property. I mean, this technology is a total, absolute takedown. It's the final solution.
Well, on the top level of power, a lot of them are running away to isolated communities where they ban all radiation sources completely. And they're building their own environments on parts of Hawaii and northern New Zealand and Tasmania and different places that we've heard about. And they think that they're going to ride it out. And they're just not going to have those technologies where they live. And that's the solution.
Anybody that thinks they're going to ride this out, the cabal or the controllers, let's say, the controllers aren't going to leave them out. This is all about money. It's about power. It's about taking everything. This is like Monopoly. You know when you play Monopoly and people want to win everything. You're up against avarice and greed that wants everything, and it wants you dead. It doesn't even want you to breathe. It doesn't even want you to breathe.
There are people who think that if a nuclear war is done exactly right, everybody, we can win. It's going to be great. I mean, they're not necessarily very intelligent. They just have high IQs.
I don't think they can be intelligent at all, because at the end of the day, they're the target. You know, I mean, the 5G to me is a gift. It's, it's like, I mean, they've walked into, they thought they were painting us into their narrative. What's actually happened? They've stepped into our narrative. And our narrative, we've just caught them. We've caught them, and we are far too early. If let's say we hadn't understood what was going on, and we just had this whole deceptive narrative going on about 5G. Unfortunately for them, there's enough of us who understand some of the things that I say, and consequently, they cannot get away with the lies. I mean, it must boil them every time they listen to me. They go, "Oh, here he is! Oh, here he is again." He's just blew. I mean, the LED streetlight thing that I did I did a video of it the other day. It's fantastic. I mean, it totally puts the whole thing. They think the technologists behind it think they're saving energy, and I've just showed them how they built themselves quite a sophisticated weapon system.
And isn't it strange that some of the greatest earth-saving, energy-saving technologies are full of things like mercury, and as soon as they break, it's all over the environment. Like we have those curling light bulbs,
Yes.
And they're in that category. And they're trying to eliminate all the incandescents from the store, so you have to buy them. It's very interesting. But when you look at LED, just for people that may be interested, I think people memorize the letters LED, but I bet you not 1 in 1,000 has any idea what that means. So why don't you tell people what an LED light is and why it matters?
Well, LED lights are basically the light-emitting diodes. It's a diode that emits. It basically squeezes an electron and you pop a photon off, and those photons are extremely bright. And how you actually reduce the light emission is you actually just reduce the pulse rate going across. You throw an electron across a gate, and it squeezes it through the gate, and that's where the light comes from.
Well, to understand that, you really do have to know what a diode is, right? So if the light's coming out of a diode, what's a diode? It's got to be inside that LED light bulb, right? A
diode's a chip. It's their chipsets. They're basically chips. They're complicated chipsets, and the diode. It's just the LED light, the light emitting diode. The diode is actually just a gate. All right, and you pull the electron, goes across the gate. You squeeze it through a mesh, and it breaks, and that's where the photon actually pops out. Now, the problem you've got with that photon, it's extremely bright.
A photon is like a little piece of light, right? Basically.
It's a bit of light. Yeah, it's a bit of light that breaks out.
What's the difference between a photon and an electron?
Well, theoretically, we can get into the whole quantum mechanics conversation, but theoretically, let's see in the basic physics of it, an electron's a lot bigger. The electron's the bit that goes around the atom.
Yeah, it's still not really big. Right.
That's if it's there at all.
I guess that's a relative question, I guess.
It's that relative. I mean, if we see it's a bit bigger than the photon, but we're getting into some really interesting conversations, Charlotte. We can start talking about simulation hypothesis if you fancy.
Well, I don't want to make you bored by having to go over too much basics, but I just thought, there's some things that you say because you're so used to it, and I want to say I want people to get as much as they can. So when you say photon and things like that, that's why I say, well, tell people what a photon is.
Right. It's the problem with me. I just come out with these things, and it's because you're right what you're saying. It's one of those sort of positions I've painted myself into. So I understand these things. So when I'm talking, I just expect that everybody seems to know what it is. The photon's just it's potential light particle. Right, but I don't get, from your own perspective, we're talking about basic physics here, by the way. All right, We're not talking about reality, my reality, and the whole simulation hypothesis thing. All right. So let's see basic physics. A photon is a light emitting particle. Okay.
Is all light photons, or is there some light that's not involving photons?
Well, all light is anything across the whole electromagnetic radiation spectrum. That's the light spectrum. All right? Okay. All travels at the speed of light.
Okay. So that photon coming out of the LED light is very bright, and it ends up entering your eye, right? I'm trying to get at what's wrong besides the toxic junk inside the LED module. What's bad about the effect of that LED photon on a human body or other kinds of bodies?
Right, that photon's extremely bright, and what it actually does, it emits more light in the so it emits more light in the higher energy spectrum of light. So the 450 nanometers. It carries with it, it's about 3.5 electron, can carry with it 3.5 electron volts in a photon. Yeah. Now that photon, let's put it like this, your retinal cell operates at, you've got a pH balance, it's a chemical process, but if we see it's normally in the minus, you've got a minus millivolt, let's say about 41 millivolts minus. All right, and then you get you get a chemical imbalance across the cell, but you get basically a bit like a battery. All right, so your cells are exactly the same. Your cells are a bit like a battery in it. So, but we're talking about a chemical process that has an electrical charge, minus 41 millivolts. That's your pH. That's where your pH balance is about correct. All right.
All right.
I'm firing a light photon in the blue spectrum, so the 450 nanometers in that region, 3.5 electron volts. 3.5 electron volts. So we're going from millivolts to 3.5 electron volts. Now, your cell, let's put the cell like that. I've got a 3.5 electron volt photon hitting that cell. Right now, where the sunlight, which is extremely powerful, it hits it like that. All right, so it's immersive. It's a bit like being in the sea. So in the sea, you've got all this sea around you. It's buffing around, but you're not up against the rocks.
Right.
What actually happens with a photon, a man-made photon from an LED streetlight? Now I need to do this. So what I do, I reduce, because that LED is really bright, I have to reduce the pulse rate of those photons coming out. So I'm gauging the electrons across the gate to reduce the photons coming out and being squeezed out. So what actually happens, that photon It's hitting your retinal cell or your retina cells, because obviously they're in your skin, and this is what makes them phototoxic, because they're actually hitting that cell and damaging it because of the pulse modulation. All right?
And the body's designed for sunlight and not for LEDs.
Your body can lie in the sun. Well, not all day. You'll probably burn you, and that could kill you as well. But that's immersive. So I wouldn't tie you out in a desert all day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Overexposure you're talking about.
Overexposure, that's pretty toxic.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's why you feel sick when you've been in the sun. It's radiation sickness.
What they call sunstroke, right?
Sunstroke, radiation sickness. That's what that is.
But you need a certain amount to activate your immune system and do things like that.
You absolutely, without the sun, without natural light, you would die.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly. All right, because it kicks in all about, your vitamins, your vitamin D, your vitamin A's, all that's created by sunlight, and the interaction with you is an energy field in relation to that light.
Okay, so the LED is just changing that immersive field of sunlight, for which there's an appropriate amount that you need, into a direct, focused, much stronger attack that starts doing damage right away. Straight away. We knew in 2003 that LEDs were carcinogenous, right? So where they can cause cancers. The work was as early as 2003 that showed that it was, carcinogenic. And obviously since then there's been lots and lots of work, mainly in relation to blue light. But the biggest issue you've got with LEDs, well, not the biggest issue, but another major issue with LEDs is you don't have spectral balance. So it's all on one end, right?
It's all at one end. So consequently, because it's all at one end, it causes a spectral imbalance. And that in itself, your body's just not used to. I mean, we just do not know how many people they said these LEDs are going to kill. But what I can tell you, they're going to kill hundreds of millions.
Right.
Anybody exposed to them, they are toxic. They're retina toxic. They cause significant stresses on the body. I just don't know how many they're going to kill, but we already have the evidence that they're killing quite a few. In fact, the double in the breast and the prostate cancer in the recent study in Barcelona showed, and that's only after only a very small number of years of exposure, and that epidemic potentially, but like cigarette smoke, that epidemic could be 30 or 40 years out. So we've already doubled the breast and the prostate cancer from the 3 or 4 years of exposure. What's it going to look like in 2 years' time? Because they're still walking around, they've still got the lights on. I mean, I'd say to people, there was a boy walking up the street the other day, and the lights come on. It's with his dad, and I said to his dad, you need to get our kids covered up. These lights are toxic. Right. And they're looking as if they look at me as if I'm crazy. I wear these 24/7.
Yeah, tell people what kind that is.
That's just a mirror. They're an iridium coated. It's a mirror coated pair of sunglasses. Nothing clever, nothing special about them. Yeah. And they help to reflect the microwave radiation, the light radiation back out. But if I was traveling at night, I would not travel in a car at night without those LED road lights, traffic lights. Can you still see well enough to drive safely, do you think? Not really. But I know how dangerous those LED streetlights are. Yeah, they're not a great solution. So, and the same thing, wearing glasses 24/7 from a health point of view, the sunlight is needed in your eyes, not necessarily directly, but at least reflected, because it affects bone density and all kinds of other stuff like that. It's a really involved design, and if you cut it off completely, you save yourself from the LED and you miss the sunlight you need. So it's kind of tricky. If I get up in the morning and it's, I'll have a coffee at the door, I'll get lots of sunlight in the eye. Okay. I try and do that in the morning. It's very important. So maybe 23/7 or something. 23/7, yeah. Yeah. Okay. And have a quick coffee in the morning. Yeah, pretty interesting. And so I guess the main issue that you're running into is the people that look at you as if you're crazy when you tell the truth. It's always a big problem. And it's, we'll go back in history, you have to look at Galileo. When he said the earth was round, everybody thought he was crazy.
Exactly.
In fact, a lot of people today think he's crazy as well, but I can tell you now, when I've been involved in over-the-horizon weapon systems, I can tell you, as far as I'm concerned, the world's round.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. I mean, and that's an interesting point, too. I mean, that's enough for many shows, but there are some interesting things that the flat earth people say, and one of them is that if a ship is out away from you, you're at the beach, right, and you're looking at the ocean, and there's a ship X number of miles away, and they're saying because it's that many miles away, if the earth was round, it should be below the horizon and not be visible, but it's visible. And they say, well, that proves our point. That's one of the things they mention.
I know, but there's a lot. I'm not saying that you can't take anything for granted that NASA said. So when you see the pictures,
that part's true. Yeah, I mean, flag waving in the wind on the moon surface is kind of suspicious, but.
Well, the problem is with unfortunately the problem is that. We've been deceived for that many years. I don't. In fact, I quite like flat earthers. I quite like to have a conversation with them. In fact, they're a lot more interested in people that just think that the world's round, even though I know it is. That I'd still rather have a conversation with a flat earther because at least they're stressing their imagination, they're thinking about things, than the other loonies that just go off what NASA say. Because I'm telling you now, NASA's built around the fabrication. I mean, anybody that thinks, what they did and, the whole garbage about 1960, I mean, they couldn't even land on the beach, never mind land on the moon. I mean, that was only a couple of years later.
Yeah.
Technology.
Well, there's also a strong indication that the technology that they actually have now is way beyond what they're showing the public. And mostly in the field of weapons, but other things too. And there's been some people that have done some great work on that. And a lot of whistleblowers have risked their lives to explain what was actually being developed a long time ago as far as, transportation without fuel and all kinds of really interesting things that have been perfected. But if they gave that to us, it would be counterproductive because there'd be too much freedom and we wouldn't be as controllable.
Exactly. Well, it's like autonomous vehicles and electric cars. It's all about controlling the masses. If I get an electric car and reduce your life expectancy, you're probably not going to get your pension. If I put you in an autonomous car, then it takes away your freedom. And that's
because you can only go to approved destinations when you're allowed to, right?
Exactly. And then what happens if, let's say, somebody wants to come to one of my outrageous talks? Yeah,
right. To hear if they want conspiracy theories.
Exactly, they just go, no, I can let you go, what I mean? It's ridiculous. But so autonomy, the whole autonomy, and I mean, I have seen some of the autonomous systems. The whole point of 5G is about autonomous systems. If people saw some of the weaponry, the autonomous weapons that are being built. Yeah. I mean, there was a project, a swarm project, a while ago. DoD put out a call for people to work on this swarm project, and it's basically some very small, mini automated flying, pieces of equipment, drone type things, and those drones have got a small projectile. Mm-hmm. You pour like 20 or 30,000 of them out the back of a Hercules or some other large transport plane. Right. They cannot find their way anywhere. They need to have ground-based 5G phased signal systems on the battlefield for them to actually geolocate themselves correctly. I mean, you can't throw them out when the weather's not good. You can't have a satellite signal system working for them, so they can't rely on that. It's got to be a ground-based, so that's why 5G is a ground-based radar system. So you've got all these drones. I could drop 20 or 30,000 of these drones on a city. Yeah. Use the 5G to attack. Whoa, fancy attacking in the city.
When you say the 5G would control them, you're defining that as phased array transmission, right?
Yeah. It's urban radar. So what actually happens? Right. The drones drop out the back of the plane. obviously they know roughly where they're going to be. Then they fly themselves into an area where you've got these 5G phased array signals. They can then geolocate themselves using that system on the ground, because they can see the ground, they can see the drone, and they can then direct them to your mobile phone.
Right.
With your mobile phone, or you might even just have they might have worked out the shape of you by then, or Google might have had your heartbeat rate sent from some medical doctor somewhere. So
they could use the same thing to control a swarm of metal insects as well, right? Real small ones, mosquitoes and things like that.
Yeah. Well, that's all part. It's all part of that weapon system. I mean, they've been using bio weapons like that for quite a number of years. In fact, I think the mosquito plan got out of control. Was it Afghanistan? There was somewhere where they had one of these weapon sites that they got a few mosquitoes went rogue or got out and killed a few police officers. But I'm trying to think, where was it? It wasn't Afghanistan, it was somewhere like that. It was just on the Russian border, and quite a few coppers went to a village where some people dropped down dead. They dropped down.
So they're having to work on a little bit of refinement of that system at the moment. That's what you're saying.
A mechanical mosquito is going to be a lot better, isn't it? If it's got a weaponized way to.
Well, yeah, you don't have to worry about people refusing certain medical treatments and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we're living in a science fiction movie. To me, not realistic enough to be taken by Hollywood.
Well, if you look at, I used to get a lot of those calls, from the DoD, where you get the documents through where you actually look at contracts and some of the stuff that they're interested in having a look at.
Yeah.
And that drone thing, I'm telling you now, was quite a number of years ago. In the 5G is actually the facilitator of it. So they can rock up outside your house, sit and hover on a tree.
Yeah, and you're not talking about necessarily millimeter waves at all, right? They can change their mind on millimeter waves and still put those things in.
This is all sub-gigahertz, urban radar.
Right.
In fact, if they want to fly it into your house, they need sub-gigs, so it'll come through the wall.
Right. So actually, there may not be a compelling reason to do millimeter waves at all, even from their point of view.
Could possibly just be a total smoke screen.
Right. In other words, designed so they could drop it.
Yeah.
And what about some of these politicians, including the U.S. president right now, who has, I think, good motives, but huge blind spots, to say the least? He's saying, yeah, great business. I mean, why stop at 5G? We need 6G immediately. Does 6G mean anything at this point?
Well, the number 6 means something.
Yeah, but I mean, in technology, what would 6G be?
Total annihilation. Well, like 5G is 5G, like as I've said, it's a weapon system. It's not a telecommunications system. In all its technical parameters, it will do harm. Yeah. It's what I call killer technology. So whether the 6G thing is just how they're like symbols and signs, that whole thing works. Okay. Whether it's just a symbol, like a 6. So they get the whole 666.
Yeah, who knows? They could be all excited about that. You were talking about earlier that you could design a technology in most cases that would make things usable but safe. What would you do for cell phones, which are really hard to hardwire, and how would you make those safe?
Well, first and foremost, the amount of power that they need to operate successfully is significantly less than what they currently need to have. You could orientate the antenna design so it would be away from the user quite significantly. So you could actually have all the antennas in the mouthpiece here away from the face. Yeah. You only have to drop off a couple of inches, and you could also warn people. You could say, well, when you're on the mobile phone, use it hands-free. Make sure your hands
exactly. What about putting it down on a counter or something and putting it on speakerphone?
Loads of things. You could actually have a docking station in the home, so you could dock it in the home. The antenna.
Yeah, hardwire it basically.
Hardwire it. the incoming information could come down a fibre optic.
Right.
So loads of ways you could do that. Absolutely. There's a shed load of inventions. There's a shed load of technologies probably out there that people have tried to bring to market and not been allowed to by Google and others.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was like the waveguide technology that we had, which was mitigated the optical radiation hazard, and we came under a sustained attack. Websites, communication systems, everything came under attack, and I couldn't understand why. I thought, any of these technology companies would be very, very interested in having something that was safe. A head-up display system that was safe, didn't hurt or harm the person. These gaming headsets are lethal. They're absolutely lethal. Anybody that uses gaming headsets, I'm telling you now, you may as well be smoking, 50 or 60 cigarettes an hour. That's how dangerous optical radiation is, and pouring in your eye.
You're talking about the games that check your location, right? So that you can move around and while you're playing the game.
Right, see these things here, Richard? No. You see that?
Yeah, what is that?
Well, that's Google's cardboard box. And all that is a magnifying they're just magnifying glasses. So
Okay.
what they magnify the radiation from the screen into your eye. Now that screen radiation is not safe for 200 millimeters, so using a magnifying glass to increase the radiation onto a person's retina, to me, is what I call killer tech. It's unbelievable.
If you were going to design a house so that the artificial lighting was safe, completely safe for people, how would you do that?
Well, first, it'll never be completely safe because all optical radiation, all artificial light radiation is a hazard. If you wanted to develop it so it was safe, it would be incandescent first and foremost.
Right.
It would most certainly be on a DC supply. So I'd have
Like
a
a
DC
12
supply.
volt, for example.
Yeah. I'd have a DC supply. It would be. It would most certainly be in the ceiling, and anywhere it wasn't in the ceiling, I'd have a diffuser, a lamp. This lamp here has got a shade.
You mean just anything so you don't have to look right at the light?
Anything so you don't have to look directly at it.
Okay.
So you get a reflection, photons through reflection is how light should enter the eye.
So was Tesla really making a bad mistake when he invented AC? Because I think AC was his idea, right?
Yes, it's a pretty bad idea. It's a good idea and it's a bad idea at the same time. It had some really good points and had some really, really bad points. It's definitely not as safe as DC because obviously you haven't got that modulation in the cabling.
Right.
To be honest, there's plus and minuses with it. But it probably just wasn't a very good idea. And that's when we started seeing an increase in Crohn's. People who are sensitive to this type of radiation and the modulation of the radiation, it's as we said before, it's not immersive. You start to modulate, and consequently that it carries.
Well, and it's the origin of most of the dirty electricity, right? As far as the other waves coming off and spikes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, if you're trying to make an environment safer for lighting, you would probably do 12 volt DC incandescent, right?
Yes. Yeah. And weight didn't catch your eye.
Yeah, exactly.
Same as candles. I mean, candles aren't safe.
You mean besides burning up your house?
Those, yeah. Candles aren't exactly safe. But I mean, if you've got them, as long as you don't look directly at them, then they're fine.
So you could have some kind of a diffuser around them too, right?
Always did have. Most candles had diffusers. You had them in a pot or you had them on a wall with a polished mirror at the back. So the candle lit the mirror then reflected the light back out.
So that's really not too bad.
Oh, that would be good. That would be excellent. Yeah, that would be excellent. That would be a good way to light the house up.
Okay. Some of there are stories of ancient civilizations where they used crystals for light sources, and they had some way to manipulate the energy there without wiring. And apparently it was not only safe, but therapeutic. But you don't find those at Walmart right now.
No, do what you have with them, do they? Well, the Egyptians had some quite interesting lighting systems.
Yeah. I suspect all those old technologies are still existing, but not appreciated by the power structure. So people who try to bring them out might have health problems. That sort of.
Possibly.
But eventually it needs to be brought back. Okay, I guess as a bottom line to this whole thing is the solution and proposed solution and response, which is what you're doing with your organization. Is that right?
Yeah, what we're doing, we're building a resistance movement. And the reason for that is because as we move closer to the prize, what's going to happen is going to be a lot more resistance, because we've caught the controllers in a crime. And one of the largest human rights crimes of all time. Said it before, this is bigger than the Holocaust, bigger than 9/11. They appeal into insignificance. The LED streetlights in Europe will already kill 100 million people. People will go, he's crazy, doesn't know what he's talking about, it's absolute madness. I'm telling you, I understand this technology better than anybody. Those LED streetlights are being built to harm. And
I assume they would be diagnosed with a problem that they were told was unconnected.
It'll be macular degeneration, central nervous system, cancers, breast and prostate. We've already got the evidence. The science has already proven this type of light causes oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is a precursor to cancer.
Right.
These are cancer-causing radiation, travels through your skin, travels in any your retinal cells, causes significant deleterious issues to cell function. Your vitamin A production, your vitamin D production damages it all. And all of those things are stressors on the body. So those LED streetlights, I've got no doubt, will kill 100 million in Europe. In fact, that might even be an underestimation. It's the greatest crime ever been committed on mankind. We've got them in America, got them all over. And not only that, the most outrageous thing, they've got the evidence from the American Medical Association. You've got the ANSIs, which is the French Health Directive Organisation. I mean, they're all saying, Public Health England even say that these technologies are risky. What I'm saying is they're not risky, they're lethal. They're lethal if they'll kill you.
Risky is code for damaging.
Oh, absolutely. So, we're going to see a horrendous number of people who are being harmed by this technology. Fortunately, we are early. They're only just fitted in some geolocations. What I'm saying to people is, act. Don't sit back and let people assault you. There is no authority on this planet that has a right to harm you. None. Because you are God's creation. You are sovereign. You're God's creation. You do not have to sit back and contend with being assaulted on your own planet. So at the end of the day, it's about people waking up, and it's about people taking action against the criminals who were caught in mid-flow in this criminal enterprise.
So are you giving them direction and tools for interacting with their local councils and government agencies and things like that?
Absolutely. We've got 3 documents. It's info@saveusnow.org.uk. Those documents be looked at. They can be used around the world for people to understand what we're going through, where your local councils, your local authorities. I mean, as it happens, fortunately, what I'm seeing from the US, you've got a number of state organisations who are now fighting against the FCC, which is absolutely fantastic. Where in the UK, we've got the exact opposite. We've got the local councils and local authorities fighting against us, aren't doing that job, basically breaking the law. Criminals, that's what they are. Basically breaking the law. They're fighting against us by trying to bring this to the attention of the higher authorities. I mean, that's why they threatened to send me to prison. I've been in court quite a number of times over this.
Right.
Basically, just trying to bring it to people's attention. And I do see some very, very interesting chinks of light in America. Right, whether it's coming from the presidential sort of, I hope so.
Yeah.
The White House does have something to do with it. Obviously I'm the eternal optimist, but what I say to people is, do not rely on anybody. We have to do this ourselves. Nobody's coming to save you.
Right.
Nobody cares. It's up to us. It's up to the people who listen to what I've got to say. Do your own research, obviously. I always say to people, don't believe a word I say, because it is unbelievable. Do your own research in relation to this. And obviously, there's enough resources out there for people to understand exactly what I'm saying. And there's enough information out there. I mean, AMA, American Medical Association, in 2016 did a report on LED streetlight, and believe us, it's absolutely diabolical. And I'm not doing it.
Your site name, Save Us Now, is not referring to an external group or person who's going to come in and make everything okay. It's meaning, and basically, I think you're saying save ourselves now.
Save Us Now is your party. It's your political movement. It's your organisation. It's not for me. It's the sun. The sun is the light. Sun, save us now. S-U-N.
Right.
Waking humanity from their sleep. The sun wakes us. The sun wakes us this time. It's very important that people understand the symbology that's wrapped around that, because it's from God.
Yeah, it's been used as a symbol for that historically too, always, because it's like this unconditional love in the form of life-giving energy to the whole biosphere, including the humans even. Not saying, well, you're bad, so I won't give you any. It just gives it to everybody.
Gives it everybody.
It's really pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, the sun's love, sun's light, and the sun shines the light on the dark. It dispels the dark. It basically blows the whole thing away, and that's what's really important about the whole movement. So people understand, because obviously there's a spiritual element to all of this. I mean, nobody, said to me 2 years ago, there's, what's going on, Mark? I would have went, well, I haven't got a clue. Now I'm pretty sure what's going on. I mean, who wants to kill all biological life on the planet? It's got to be spiritual.
And the price for finding out what's really going on is being considered crazy by everybody else. But you don't need a majority. You need just a critical mass of involved, 6%. Interested people. 3 to
6% now, I think we're there now. And, what happened when I first started telling people about this, all thought I was crazy. We're starting to see significant increase in invest and a significant increase in resistance to 5G.
Yeah.
So it definitely starting to get there. People are starting to get the message. They're starting to really understand what I've been saying from day one. One of the things that's pretty concerning, there's a number of the world's leading scientists and some very, very good people. What happened? They just cannot believe what's going on. They're going, well, this is crazy. In fact, there was a guy got interviewed by, some chap in Israel, and he said, well, have you heard what Mark Steele said? He says, because not crazy at all. He's saying it's an agenda. So even though, these scientists, great people, good people with, good meaning, what they've got to understand is this is an agenda. Nobody's listening to anything you have to say. Nobody's interested. Nobody cares. They're interested in what you have to say. I mean, how can you've got this 5G space appeal, but you've got, I think the last count was 150,000 experts and scientists from around the world. In fact, I think it was even reported that the president of Poland signed it.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
I heard about that. Right.
But nobody's listening. And the reason why they're not listening, because it's an agenda to harm, it's an agenda to kill. And we have caught the cabal right in mid-floor. And that's why everybody needs to get organised. Everybody needs to come together. This isn't about egos. This is about God's law. It's about God's law. And no authority on this planet has a right to harm God's creatures. And that's exactly what we see. We see God's creatures being killed on a daily basis, whether they be pollinators, whether they be birds, whether they be humans. I mean, we had a little boy, 5-year-old, died, it's about 2 months ago now, heart cancer. More unfortunately, that heart cancer, I know that phase the radio operators are the only people that get this. It is so rare, this type of heart cancer is so rare, can only be attributed to phased signal systems, which my local council have fitted outside this little boy's bedroom window, measured the radiation levels in his home at 1700 millivolts. The maximum I can expose you to in law, Council of Europe 1815 resolution, and the latest European guidelines is 200.
Right.
That little boy's dead. That to me is murder. That to me is genocide.
Yeah.
Because I agree with Barry Trower. Barry says it's a genocide. I totally agree with him. And not only that, we've got the epidemiological data to show that we had a 23% increase in strokes in the Gateshead, particularly the Gateshead, with the introduction of this technology. If that doesn't tell people what's going on, then, unfortunately, and not only that, we only have to go to the local parks. Anybody that looks at some of the videos I've done in the local parks, there's no birds. Small birds totally disappeared. Gone. Dead.
Okay, well, if people want to follow that further and your activities and learn from the resources on the site, they can go to saveusnow.org.uk. Is that right?
They can do that in the YouTube channel. It's Anthony Steele. Obviously, we'll have to take my name off. I used a relative's YouTube channel because I had to take my name off because obviously if I put my name on stuff, Google take it down.
Yeah.
They block the narrative stuff. So we've got to try and be a little bit cleverer than the controllers.
So it's Anthony Steele, Steele.
Yeah.
And they can see your videos.
There's videos on that channel, yeah, and they'll see the absolute collapse in the pollinators. I did a video outside of a newsagent's. There's no wasps, where normally wasps hang around newsagents where there's sweet rabbits and pop rabbits and stuff like that. None.
Yeah, I've seen the decrease of all kinds of wildlife, very noticeable over the last few years.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I really appreciate your being willing to deal with all the, low-level questions. Sorry about that, but I think it was really useful, and hope we can do the next segment soon. Okay, you guys, there goes Mark Steele. I hope you found that educational, and I definitely did. And I'd like to run into somebody who's still an actual scientist person and questioning, exploring things, and not just memorizing what he's supposed to think. And Mark's, I think, a really great other example of that. The work that he's doing is from a good motivation. It's to try to not have the biosphere, including humanity, die from technology designed to destroy it, which I think is a really good idea to avoid that. And it's got documents that he puts up on saveusnow.org.uk that would be good to look at when you're looking for ways to deal with your local municipality, city, county, state, whatever it might be, or municipality in whatever country that you live in. The other site that comes to mind that might give you more resources on this too is Scientists for Wired Technology. I don't remember the exact site, but you can look that up on a search engine like DuckDuckGo. Don't recommend ever using Google for anything unless you have to, but DuckDuckGo is the best one I've found. In the meantime, keep in touch with us at lostartsradio.com, and especially in case we disappear off any of the major video platforms, you can find us on brighteon.com. That's brighteon.com/channel/Lost Arts Radio. That's a non-censoring platform, so it'll probably be on there for the foreseeable future, hopefully on the other places too for quite a while. And remember that if you want to get into the deeper aspects of the health issues and consciousness issues that it's not easy for us to put on the public platforms, take a look at planetaryhealingclub.com, planetaryhealingclub.com, and that's where we meet. It's an interactive live encounter every week on Saturday evenings, or if you're in another part of the world and the time doesn't work for you, you can watch the archives and then communicate with us by email, and that way we take it further. We also have a site in case you want to help us keep our work going, because you notice we're not pushing products too much at all. The ones on the website aren't paying us at all. They just got put there because we thought they were good. You can support us at subscribestar.com/Lost Lost Arts Radio. And take a look at Lost Arts Research Institute.org if you want to look at the nonprofit that's set up, hopefully to build a school, if we can acquire the money to do that. And I'm behind on putting out the videos during the week that we usually make, so I'll try to get back on schedule with that. In the meantime, look for the continuing guest shows on the Sunday show. And I really appreciate your spending a little time for us and upgrading your own life in any ways that you can. It's a contribution to the whole world, and it inspires other people to do the same thing. So thank you. It's really appreciated. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Introducing Lost Arts Radio on Subscribestar.com. Just go to Subscribestar.com/LostArtsRadio to find our rewards program, offering 10 different giving levels starting at just $5 a month. We offer incredible value for any rewards level, from extra monthly interview videos not available publicly to subscription-based Planetary Healing Club videos once, twice, or 3 times a month, to private counseling sessions with Lost Arts Radio host Richard Sachs, to tech help with me, Doug Diamond. We even have one option where you can be the star on Lost Arts Radio as our guest on a specially produced show just for you. We conduct an interview with you and broadcast it to our growing network and listenership. Our Subscribe Star levels are one of a kind and offer great rewards for any budget. Please help support Lost Arts Radio. We can't do it without you. With increasing censorship on many of our channels, we really need your support today to keep doing what we're doing. As Richard says, we're not even at survival level yet. Lost Arts Radio has 3 weekly shows. Lost Arts Radio Live each Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, which is a live stream currently on multiple platforms in case we get banned from some of the larger ones. Right now, we're on 2 YouTube channels, Facebook Live, Periscope, which is Twitter, Twitch, and DLive. You can access these broadcasts by going to www.lostartsradio.com/live for all the links to those channels. The Planetary Healing Club meets right after Lost Arts Radio Live at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Saturday nights. And our Sunday show with guests airs at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Sunday nights on our Blog Talk Radio channel, our YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and on Brighteon. Be sure to sign up for our free email list just in case we do get banned on big tech's platforms. It's just a matter of time, really. They don't like the stuff we talk about, and they do not want the truth out there. In fact, they have already attacked us numerous times. Join our free email list so we can let you know where we are and how to access our shows. The sign-up button is right on the top right on most pages of our website. The best starting point for all things Lost Arts Radio is our main site, lostartsradio.com, where you can find the hottest news selection videos that we curate just for you. Those are on the homepage and added to daily, as well as articles and breaking news about information you really need to know. Our show archives, the 10 most recent shows, are right on our homepage, as well as our Blog Talk Radio page at blogtalkradio.com/lostartsradio, or just click the All Things Radio Show tab right on our website. We're in the podcast directory on iTunes, and all of our shows except the banned ones are on our YouTube channels at Lost Arts Radio and at Diamond Disc. Our Brighteon page is really taking off, and we often have editors' picks videos right on their homepage. Visit brighteon.com/channel/LostArtsRadio. On our site, you can also access our free listener forum as well as sign up for the Planetary Healing Club, which is just $25 a month, where you get private access to a one-on-one interaction with host Richard Sachs and myself and the other club members who participate live. More info can be found at planetaryhealingclub.com. We're providing solutions in there to make the world a better place. Come join us. Stay tuned, because up next, you'll get to hear a really great song by an independent artist that we're doing our best to support. Go to lostartsradio.com/music for the full list of all the great songs and bands that we spin on our audio-only podcast shows. If you're in a band and want to submit a song for consideration for airplay on Lost Arts Radio, visit my website at diamonddiscaudio.com for more information about the music placement, mastering, and mixing work that I do. Thanks again for listening to and supporting Lost Arts Radio. We love having you as part of our family to learn, experience, and grow with.
I'd walk all night to find you through the jungle in a daze. Where is my protector? Are you in this endless maze? I need a guide with every stride. I'd hang up your every word. Where are you now? Lost in a crowd, escaping from this crazy world. You told me to listen out for the beat of your drum getting louder and louder. The beat of my heart brings me closer to you. Hearing your steps, I run faster and faster. I'm coming up behind you. I listen for the beat of your drum. Beat of your drum. Your memory lasts forever, though we didn't have much time. You had to go without me. I had to stay behind. Where did you go? I'm on my own. I hope that I can find my way, but I'm losing track. I wish you'd come back. I'd give anything for one more day. I'll never give up the hunt for the beat of your drum getting louder and louder. The beat of my heart brings me closer to you. Hearing your steps, I run faster and faster. I'm coming up behind you. I listen for the beat of your drum. Beat of your drum. Beat of your drum. Beat of your drum. Keep up the beat, you're almost in reach. I know that you wanna be found. Don't lose hope, I'm getting so close. I'm following your every sound. I know the day will come when two songs play as one. The beat of your drum getting louder and louder. The beat of my heart brings me closer to you. Hearing your steps, I run faster and faster. I'm coming up behind you. I listen for the beat of your drum. Beat of your drum. Beat of your drum. Beat of your drum. I listen for the beat of your drum. Beat of your drum. I listen for the beat of your drum.